We have some breaking news for you in our world lead right now. Staffers on Capitol Hill are being briefed on the current situation in northeast Syria. Both political parties, including loyal allies to President Trump and the Republican Party, have excoriated his decision to withdraw U.S. troops there, given that the Kurds who live there have been stalwart allies of the U.S., and there are credible fears that without the U.S. there, Turkey might massacre them. CNN Chief International Correspondent Clarissa Ward joins me now live from northern Iraq. And Clarissa, signs today that a Turkish strike against the Kurds could theoretically be imminent.
That's right, Jake. I mean, essentially, it could happen any moment now. No real clarity on the timing. The Turks simply saying that everything is in place for that to begin. They're calling it Operation Peace Spring. And make no mistake, this is going to be a major operation, Jake. You're talking about 300 miles of border area. They want to cut a swath 30 miles deep and cover that entire area. So this is not going to be something that happens overnight. We have heard reports of military personnel, howitzers, various other military machinery massing in some areas along the Turkish-Syrian border. But the question now is, when will that effort begin underway? It appears the Turks are not paying any attention to President Donald Trump, who did something of a sort of pedaling back by saying, listen, if you hit the Kurds too hard, your economy will pay a very dear price for it. The Turks responding by saying, we will not bow down to any threats. They seem very determined to go ahead with this, Jake.
And Clarissa, President Trump tried to defend his decision today, but it doesn't seem like even his closest allies are convinced that this is the right move.
Yeah, it's interesting, Jake. It doesn't matter who you talk to, whether it's his allies in the Republican Party, as you say, who see this as essentially handing a victory to Russia, to the regime of Bashar al-Assad, to Iran, or even European allies who are very, very concerned about the real possibility that this could create a vacuum, that all those Syrian Kurdish forces who are currently guarding thousands and thousands of violent ISIS fighters in prisons under their purview could potentially be now forced to go onto the front lines to fight against a Turkish invasion, leaving those prisons with the doors open. Kurds are very worried as well, of course, that they will simply be hung out to dry by their strongest ally, the U.S. Jake?
Clarissa Ward, live for us in Erbil, Iraq. Thank you so much. Stay safe.
The Pentagon says it has moved U.S. troops out of the path of a potential Turkey incursion in northern Syria, but it has not reduced troop size in Syria at this moment. We're told about 1,000 troops are in northern Syria, and some in the area of concern around the Kurds, about 50. Hard to say for sure. Former Green Beret Commander General Jerry Boykin with us right now. General, are those numbers about right? I mean, if all 1,000 go, and at this point they have not, they're moving though, then what?
Yeah, well, you're going to see a genocide. You're going to see a genocide of Kurds, but you're also going to see a genocide of Christians. You know, Neil, in that northeast Syrian sector there are the oldest sect of Christians in the world actually lives there. They call them Syriacs. They still speak Aramaic. And up until the time that ISIS had been really defeated by U.S. forces with their Kurdish allies, those Syriac Christians were brutalized. They were decimated by ISIS. I think what you're going to see is not only a genocide, but you're going to see a resurgence of ISIS.
The president begs to differ. He tweeted earlier today on this decision, in part saying, we may be in the process of leaving Syria, but in no way have we abandoned the Kurds, who are special people, wonderful fighters. While we only had 50 soldiers remaining in that section of Syria, and they have been removed, any unforced or unnecessary fighting by Turkey will be devastating to their economy and to their very fragile currency. He seems to be intimating there, General, an economic response, not a military one, if they were to get provocative.
No, I think that's exactly what he's saying. But look, there's been a lot of mixed messages that have come out in the last, 48 to 72 hours. And I must tell you, Neil, I, for one, am confused by the messages that have come out. I think that it's been very clear that the president has acquiesced to a Syrian incursion into that area under the notion that they're going to establish a safe zone where they can push 1 million refugees back across the border into Syria. But it's also a very good excuse for them to posture and be ready to strike the Kurds. This has been going on for decades, that they have been after the Kurds. And Neil, I was in northern Iraq, up in Kurdistan, in May. And I went all the way up to the Turkish border, and the Kurds there showed me a school that had been bombed by the Kurds. This is a remote area with just small villages, and this school had been bombed by the Turks and killed 13 children. And I said, why did they do this? And they said, simply because we're Kurds. And as far as they are concerned, all Kurds are PKK. So if you think that the Kurds are not going to be attacked by the Turks if the Turks come in there, you better rethink that.
So if the president is saying he's going to keep an eye on this and punish economically, again, it seems, if they try that, if the Turks try that, you think they still will? And you think that this is a green light for them to do that?
Yeah, I do, Neil. I mean, I don't know how you can look at it any other way. Look, it's confusing because the president has been tough on Turkey in many ways. He canceled their buy of the Joint Strike Fighters, the F-35. So that was a very tough position he took with them. And I think he's also denied them air defense systems, U.S. air defense system, Patriot systems. But at the same time, now we're literally moving off the border, moving out of northeast Syria. And I think just looking at the rhetoric that has gone on between him and Erdogan, it appears to me that Erdogan says, I'm coming across that border, I'm going after the Kurds. And Mr. Trump has said, well, the Kurds need to sort this out. They need to figure this out for themselves. And then there was another message that came out that said, no, we're not abandoning the Kurds. So I'm not sure what the true message is here, but what I can tell you is on the surface of it, it looks like we're walking away from a long-standing ally that has stood with us from 2003 all the way through our pullout in 2011. And when we could find nobody else to fight ISIS in that part of the world, it was the Kurds that stepped up and said, here we are, we'll fight. And they lost about 11,000 people as a result of that. Now, it's in their best interest to do it as well.
All right. General, good words of warning. Always enjoy having you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Meanwhile,